I was really down bad. Like I felt like I wasn't alive. I felt as if I had been smoking for so long that I hadn't even known what it feels like to not be sober. Cried out to the Lord, and I'm like, Lord, if you can hear me, like, just help me. I didn't know how or who. I just prayed, like, if you're out there, like, just help me. Hi, my name is Evelyn. I'm 22 years old. I was born in Tanzania. I'm Burundian and Rwandese, and I'm currently living in Melbourne, Australia.
So tell us, what was your life before you met Jesus?
Life before Christ was it was really different. I think I went through a lot. Um, I first moved to Australia when I was 6 years old. I first went to Darwin. I lived there for about 2 years. I also grew up in a really abusive household. Me and my siblings, I'm one of six, the second eldest. And while we're living in Darwin, the abuse between my mom and my father got really bad. So we grew up watching my mom get beat up by our dad. Um, Eventually, she decided to leave him, and she started seeing someone else, who I'll call my stepfather. Um, when we when we were 8, we moved to Perth, Western Australia. There was a lot of trials as well. I didn't have a really good relationship with my stepfather, so I was considered an outcast because he had something against me specifically. We didn't get along very well. With him, he was Jehovah's Witness. He um, he was verbally and mentally abusive, and most of the times the plans that he had for me were not plans to help me in life. But he was really strict. Because I had grown up with my father, my biological dad. He was also really abusive, and by the time I was 8, I started. I was I went through a lot of trauma, so that started to show when I was about 10. Um, I remember I used to sleepwalk a lot because of what I had experienced. I had a lot of night terrors, and this was something that I brought up to my mom, and my mom actually thought I was crazy. She she tried to find out what was wrong with me, because I wasn't doing very well in school either. So she tried to find me a counselor. At this time, I was really young, but the counselor just put me on medication. This was out of school, like therapy counseling. So yeah, I was on medication for a long time, since the age of 10. Um, and by the time I reached to high school, I started going through a lot with building relationships and getting to know people and holding relationships. Um, we moved a lot around in my childhood. We moved a lot in Perth. We didn't stay at certain house for very long. I think the longest we ever stayed in a house was about 4 years. Um, so yeah, after I started school, I met this girl who I call my cousin. She helped me through a lot, and she knew my backstory. She knew about how my household was, um, and yeah, she helped me through a lot. In this time, my first years of high school, I I became really problematic. I would be in the hospital because that my mom had admitted me to the hospital, to a mental facility. I would stay there months at a time, and I would miss out on schoolwork. Um, and this was because she felt as if I was too much to handle. She didn't see me as someone that could be helped. I went through a lot of abandonment issues. At this time, I started self-harming, and I would go to school, and the teacher would ask me like, "What's happened? What's been going on?" And I was really closed off. I felt as if I couldn't relate to anybody. I didn't feel like anyone could understand me. Um, so because I was doing really bad in school, my stepfather decided that it would be best for us to move to Mount Gambier, which is in the middle of Melbourne and Adelaide. It's a little town. There he sent my older sister and myself first. We started having problems there as well because it was a new place. We lived there for about 9 months. In this 9 months, we met my stepfather's my stepfather's side of the family. There was a man that we went to visit after he had given birth, after him and his family had given birth. And me and my younger sister got sexually assaulted by this man. Because of all of this, I was getting diagnosed with all different kinds of disorders like depression, anxiety, and I didn't feel as if I even felt human at this point. I did mention it to my mum. My mum didn't believe me until my younger sister came forward and told her the same thing had happened to her. So we ended up moving back to Perth after 9 months. And in the next 2 years, from the age I was 12 to about 14, 15, we actually took the case to court, but it took 2 years to go to trial. So we went back to Adelaide so that we were able to take this man to court. But the time where we got there, the court said that he had left and gone to Africa. So we never got that justice that we were seeking, that we were hoping to get. So after this, I think that's when my world really came crashing down. This is when I felt as if everything was against me. I felt as if I had no way out, and I was struggling mentally. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't feel close to my family at all. I do have a big family, but I don't feel as if I was heard. And I would tell my mum that I'm feeling this way, and she just seen it as crazy. Like, when you come from an African household, there's no depression or anxiety. There's no sense of overwhelmingness. So I felt as if I was unheard. So after this, I decided to go live with my biological dad in Brisbane. I hadn't lived with him for I haven't lived with him for a really long time, but I was so desperate to just find that help, to seek that help, that I was willing to go back to a place where I had left in the first place, because I just wanted a way out, to be honest. After I left home, my mum told me that it wasn't possible for me to ever go back. So the problems that I had faced, I had started to face in Brisbane. She no longer felt as if she could help me. So in Brisbane, I think I only stayed with my dad for about 2 weeks before it got too much for me, and I decided to leave. I became homeless at 15, so I was basically on the streets, and I had to reach out for help. I reached out to a place called Bridges Reconnect, where they helped me find youth accommodations. Because I was under the age of 15, I wasn't yet eligible to get my own house. So I went from youth accommodation to youth accommodation, never feeling as if I had accomplished anything in life. When I reached 16, I remember it was in July where I was able to get my own accommodation, just a studio in the complex. And my cousin, who I had gone through a lot with in high school, she actually moved into the same complex. So we lived about 30 seconds away. I had a group of 4 friends that I basically did everything with. These girls taught me everything that I knew. But I did start to go down a really dark path. I started doing drugs. I started smoking weed. I started drinking heavily, taking pills. I started clubbing underage as well. I remember it was every weekend that we would go out, we'd get drunk and high. I remember it was every day that we got high. I was literally addicted to smoking weed. I felt as if I I couldn't escape reality. Like everything was just crashing down. At this time, I'm isolated from my family. My dad doesn't call me. My mom doesn't call. So I felt as if I was alone. And I remember one night, um, whilst I was living by myself, I really tried hard to find my purpose. I think this is when I started self-harming as well. I started self-harming again, because it was too much. Like I'm at this age where I'm 16. I'm trying to finish school. I'm paying my own rent, buying groceries. I actually ended up dropping out of school at the age of 17 because it was all too much. I couldn't keep up with paying for education. I couldn't I couldn't budget out my money properly because I was spending it on drugs, and um, yeah, I just couldn't help myself. I I remember I used to fly to different states. I was never in one place for a long time. I um, I would fly to Melbourne, back to Brisbane, to Perth, back to Melbourne. Um, Throughout all of these years, I think I lived by myself for 3 years. I do believe that the stuff um, that happened for a reason. I do understand that there is other people who go through worse situations. Not to take away from what I've been through, but um, just knowing that, um, just knowing the kind of person I am now, I don't think I would have been able to come out the way that I did. Um, so yeah, skip past to one time that I was visiting Brisbane. I sorry, visiting Melbourne. I came with one of my friends, and this was in one of the years that I was living alone. So we planned to come to Melbourne, and um, we were just going with the wind. We were just living life however it takes us. We didn't care that we weren't home for a certain amount of time. Like this was a time of just going however we wanted to go. I remember we had been up for about 3 days just doing drugs and smoking and drinking, and I reached this really dark place. It was 3 days that this happened. I actually fell into a really dark place, and I tried ice, and after doing this, I didn't get addicted or anything, um, but I know how bad life would have had to be for me to do that. So yeah, after going back from Brisbane um, from Melbourne to Brisbane, um, I I tried so hard to do things, to get to better myself, because I know that that place that I had been in was really dark. It was not for me.
How did you come to Christ?
So I came to Christ in 2022. At this time, I was engaged to a guy. Um, I was engaged to him for about a year before I came to Christ. And I remember, because we were both in a really dependent relationship, we were dependent on weed. We would smoke, and it was a terrible time. Like, we would fight over small things, um, like the amount of money that we're spending on it, and when we're spending the money on it. And it was really unhealthy. We began to fight a lot, and he was also really, really abusive. So this really didn't mix very well. I I remember one time I had an encounter, and I I prayed because I was really down bad. Like I felt like I wasn't alive. I felt as if I had been smoking for so long that I hadn't even known what it feels like to not be sober. So I was really desperate to become sober, and I cried out to the Lord, and I'm like, Lord, if you can hear me, like, just help me. I didn't know how or who. I just prayed, like, if you're out there, like, just help me. And this wasn't a normal cry. It was more of like, it was like a weeping cry. You know, that the silent silent weeping cry. It was a desperate cry out. I remember praying, and that same week, me and my partner at the time we went to McDonald's. We walked to McDonald's, and we met a brother there that came to us, and I had a cross on my neck. And he asked me, "Hey, are you a Christian?" And I'm like, "Not really. It's been a long time since I had been to church, since I had an encounter with the Lord." And throughout the years, I had times where I went to youth in Perth. There was times where I would have Bible studies with the brothers and sisters from the Jehovah's Witness congregation that my stepfather had us in. So I knew some scriptures. I knew some parts of the Bible. I just didn't have a relationship with God. And so after this happened, I knew for a fact that it was the Lord. The Lord was trying to speak to me. To have this encounter with this person that I had never met, it was just like the Lord answering my prayers. And after this, I was invited to the church, JJM. I went to JJM that Saturday, and we didn't stay very long, but I was eager. I really wanted to get baptized. And I went to one of the pastors, and I was like, "I don't feel like I'm clean enough. I don't feel as if I'm worthy. I don't feel like I'm at that stage where I can get baptized." And the pastor told me, "You don't go into the shower clean. You go into the shower, and the shower cleans you." And after he said that, I was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely getting baptized." So I got baptized that same Sunday. I think it was either the week after or even the next day. After getting baptized, I did backslide. I went back into the world, just because I didn't know who God was still. I didn't know how amazing He was, and how much I was loved by Him. So I did go back into the world, and I went back to Perth with my ex-fiance. We went there, and we started struggling again. We started slipping back into the same habits, and it was basically two blind people leading each other, and it was really bad. I did try to go to a church there that my cousin goes to, because praise God, she was able to also find Christ after the life that she had lived. So I felt as if I was at the wrong church, so I just stopped going. A couple months to a year down the line, the abuse started getting worse, and I knew that the only way that I could leave this person is that I started seeing someone else. So that's what I did. I started seeing someone else, and the guy that I was engaged to, he went back to Melbourne, and in that time, the guy that I had met to get away from my fiance at the time, he was also really hurt. He had a lot of trauma as well, and he hadn't yet expressed that. He hadn't put that out there. He hadn't spoken to anyone about it. So we were basically trauma bonding. So we'd be in each other's company, just drinking. I became a heavy drinker again. I would drink every day. I would even miss out on meals because of drinking. I started to lose a lot of weight, and that's when I had my next cry out to the Lord. And I was like, "Lord, I can't live like this again. Please help me." And sure enough, the Lord delivered. I ended up getting pregnant at 21, 21, sorry. I forgot how old I am. Sorry, I ended up getting pregnant at 20. And I didn't find out until I had left Perth because I was in a bad situation. And after that prayer, I had moved to Melbourne again. I was in Melbourne 3 days before I found out that I was pregnant, and after this time, I knew that I had to change my life really badly. I reached out to one of the sisters from JJM, and I went to their prayer night, and I just let them know that I was pregnant, and I asked them, like, is it a sin to get rid of a child? I really did not want to be a mother at the age. I felt like there was a lot of shame, a lot of hurt. I felt as if my financial situation wasn't stable. It wasn't good enough to raise a child. And I've always told myself in the world that I wanted to be able to give my child a two-person household. This was something that I really tried to do, but I guess that wasn't God's way for me at the time. I think this was really a lesson. I think this really built my character as well. So fortunately, I did keep my baby. So yeah, after deciding to keep baby, I really started to see the glory of God really make its way through my life. I really started to see the change that it had on me. I became a happier person. I was more dedicated to things. I found peace as well. Peace was a really big thing. I was able to forgive the people that had hurt me. I was able to forgive my mom and my stepfather. I forgave my family. I forgave a lot of people that had caused me pain in the past. And because of this, I did find the most amazing part of peace that anyone could hope for. I know that He has a plan for me. I found my purpose as well, and yeah, just continuing to walk in the light instead of darkness. And He was able to give me that heart as well. He was able to change my heart and renew my mind. And praise God, because I really needed saving.
So Evelin, what's life like for you now?
Well, this is baby Heaven. She's 3 months old. Life is really good. I'm just so glad that I kept her. She's such a blessing. She loves everybody. I know all the prayers that I prayed over her really came to pass. And yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad she's able to be here. I think also when I first got pregnant, I was talking to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, give me the strength so that I'm able to be the mother that she deserves. So I can be that mother that is able to dedicate her to the Lord. So I just pray. I just gotta continue praying over her and praise God that she's here. My encouragement for the viewers would be, within those years that I struggled really hard, and with the time where even when I was in the Lord, I think one thing that I did was I prayed, and although I didn't know what I was praying for at the time or how to pray, I think just having that conversation with the Lord, even if it means like crying out to Him and just telling Him how you feel, because one thing I know is that the Lord hears everyone's prayers. He knows things that we don't. He knows the plans that He has for you, and I think just seeking Him in everything that you do, because He knows the hearts. He knows the hearts of every man, and I don't think I would have done it without Him. So praise God that I was able to find that comfort and peace.
Smile. Hi.
My sleep got disturbed.